Hi everybody, here is your video for writing thesis statements. Remember, this is specifically to be used with your Blue Book homework. I'm going to use three types of prompts today. One type of prompt identifies, one type of prompt explains, and one type of prompt persuades. I feel like that will give you an idea to base any of the 42 prompts on. So no matter what prompt you get, you should be able to find something like it here in this video so that it can give you some support. All right, the first one is an identify prompt. What we're going to do is read it through, and then we're going to find all the parts of the prompt. Every single prompt asks multiple questions, or it gives you directions to do multiple actions within your paper. So let's take a look. Identify an enjoyable educational activity. It could be participating in a play, completing a science experiment, playing an instrument, or something else. Use specific details and examples to explain why the activity is enjoyable. We're going to go through and highlight the sections that tell us what to do. So right out of the gate here, identify an enjoyable educational activity. We're going to go ahead and highlight that in yellow because it tells us to identify. That's a direction. The second sentence gives us context, gives us suggestions, but it doesn't give us direction. So we're going to ignore that entirely. The third sentence tells us to use specific details and examples to explain. So if that gives us a direction, we're going to highlight it blue. You don't want to address all of the questions in the thesis statement at the same time. Really, you're going to choose one, usually the first one, address it in the thesis statement, then you'll take care of the others in your topic sentences and body paragraphs. So our first one is identify an enjoyable educational activity. So I'll choose one, an enjoyable educational activity is art club. Notice that I picked one because it says identify an enjoyable activity, not multiple enjoyable activities. Also, I picked art club instead of football or lunch because this is specifically supposed to be educational. You can also use personal pronouns in your thesis statement if you'd like. So you could have also gone with, I enjoy art club. Even though that's extremely short, that's exactly what we're looking for, something that you can base your whole paper on. From here, your topic sentences can become the reasons why you enjoy art club, and your body paragraphs can become personal examples of times that you've had those particular reasons. In another video, I'll show you exactly how to do that. Let's move on. This is an explain prompt. It's also one with a quote, which looks really scary, but in the end, most of the time you just have to ignore them. So let's take a look. Civil rights leader Mahatma Gandhi wrote, "Be the change you want to see in the world. What is one way you would like to change the world, and how can you help bring about this change? Use specific details and examples in your response." Again, we're going to highlight the parts of the sentence that tell us to do something specific or ask a question. The quote doesn't tell us to do anything, so for now we're going to ignore it. The first part that asks a question is, what is one way you would like to change the world? So we're going to go ahead and highlight that yellow. Notice I didn't do the whole sentence because there's a second sentence in it. How can you bring about this change? So we're going to go ahead and highlight that one in blue because that's a second question that needs to be addressed. Then the third sentence is use your specific details and examples. That's going to be in every one, guys. I know it gets old. We'll go ahead and highlight that in green. Again, we only want to address one part of the prompt in our thesis statement, the biggest part. In this case, it is what is one way you would like to change the world? So, one way that I would like to change the world is to give everyone a free puppy. That might seem like a silly example, but sometimes silly works. You could change it and make it a little bit different. You could say, I would bring about world peace. Be careful with a thesis statement like that because you're going to have to come up later with that second part. How can you bring about this change? So good luck with that if that's what you're going with. Again, we're going to save the other two parts, that blue highlighting and the green highlighting, for another time. And the quote is great. It's nice to know, but it's really not relevant to our thesis statement. All right, our last one is to persuade. The best part about persuasion is that the thesis statements are super simple. Many teachers assign group projects. Sometimes, however, an uncooperative member can affect the entire group. Argue for or against the use of group projects using specific details and examples. Of course, we've got two sentences of context here that don't tell us to do anything, so we get all the way to the third sentence before we need to highlight. So it tells us to argue for or against the use of group projects. That's our first direction. So we're going to highlight it yellow. And then you have our old standby, use specific details and examples as our second part, and we'll highlight that blue. Once again, our thesis statement is just for the first one, that yellow highlighting. Argue for or against the use of group projects. We're going to do that by saying there should be group projects or there shouldn't be. And that's all we have to do. There should not be group projects in school. That works just fine. I do not agree with group projects. That works just fine too. If you'd like to make it a little bit more specific, you can say, I believe, or let me take out the one, not I. Teachers should assign group projects in school. Notice that I made sure that these all say agree or not agree, should or shouldn't. On these persuasive ones, is no middle ground ever. You cannot be in the middle ever. Mostly that's going to throw you off topic. You have to pick one side or the other. So imagine that you're trying to persuade your mom to give you $10. You don't want to argue both sides of that, because in the end, you're not going to get $10. So even if you don't feel strongly about one side or the other, pick the one that you feel like you can do the best explaining, and that's it. Okay? Again, we'll address using specific details and examples a little bit later. All right, hopefully you'll find something here you can use. The process is highlight, underline, circle the parts of the prompt. What do you have to address? Use that very first one to write your thesis statement. Keep it simple. Don't give reasons. Don't give details. Those are for another time. And you're done. Hope that helps. If you have any questions, you know where to find me.